What does rejection feel like? It's that punch to the gut, that hollow ache, the weight of someone telling you, directly or indirectly, that you're not enough. It's raw, it's messy. It's something that can leave you questioning your worth, replaying memories, and stuck in the agonizing loop of why wasn't I chosen? But what if I told you that their rejection isn't the end of your story? What if, instead of seeing it as your downfall, you could see it as the exact thing that will lead to your rise? Let me show you how. You've been there, haven't you? Sitting in the wreckage of what once was, wondering if you'll ever find yourself again. You've given and given only to be left dry. But here's the truth most people don't want to face. Rejection doesn't define you. It reveals you. It challenges you to dig deep, to find something within yourself you didn't even know existed. Stoicism teaches us that adversity isn't just something to endure, it's a tool, a forge, a way to refine ourselves into something stronger, something greater. Let's address the common misconception that rejection somehow diminishes your value. People love to tie their worth to the approval of others, don't they? But let me ask you, if someone doesn't see your value, does that mean it isn't there? Of course not. Their inability to recognize your worth says far more about them than it ever will about you. So what if instead of spiraling, instead of giving them the power to dictate your story, you took their rejection as the fire you needed to rise? Imagine the version of yourself who doesn't just survive but thrives, unapologetically and magnificently. This isn't just theory. It's actionable. It's transformative. And by the end of this, you won't just understand how to turn rejection into fuel, you'll feel it coursing through your veins. You'll be ready to step into the next chapter of your life, not as a victim, but as the author of an unstoppable story. Stay with me, because what's coming next will change everything. 1. The spark that ignites change. They rejected you. They left you. They dismissed you like you were just another option in a world full of possibilities. It stings, doesn't it? The memories play on repeat, the laughter you shared, the moments you thought were real. And now, silence, absence, indifference. It's tempting to let it consume you, to let it confirm every doubt you've ever had about yourself. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, is their opinion really the truth? Or is it just a mirror reflecting their own inability to see clearly? When someone walks away, we're quick to internalize the blame. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? But Stoicism reminds us of an uncomfortable yet liberating truth. You are not in control of others' actions, only your response to them. Their rejection is not a statement of your worth, but a reflection of their perspective, a perspective limited by their own fears, desires, and inadequacies. So why let their decision define you? Why give them that power? Instead, ask yourself this: what does their rejection reveal about you? Because rejection, as painful as it is, has a way of pulling back the curtain. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've neglected, the dreams you've set aside, and the potential you've yet to tap into. Think about fire for a moment. It consumes everything in its path, reducing it to ash. But it's also the catalyst for transformation. Forests regenerate after wildfires, phoenixes rise from the flames, and in the heat of adversity, raw metal is forged into unbreakable steel. Their rejection was the spark, and now, it's up to you whether you let it destroy you or ignite a fire they'll never be able to control. But let's be clear, this fire isn't about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong or making them regret their choice. That's wasted energy, energy better spent on something far more important, becoming the version of yourself that no longer depends on their approval. This is where the real power lies, in reclaiming your narrative, in realizing that their exit wasn't a loss, but an opportunity. You see, every time they doubted you, every time they ignored you, they were handing you the fuel you needed to rise. They thought they were walking away unscathed. But what they didn't realize is that their absence was the greatest gift they could have given you. Because now there's nothing holding you back. No more pouring into someone who didn't appreciate it. No more waiting for validation that was never going to come. It's just you and the wide open road ahead. Imagine this: a version of yourself who has taken every hurt, every setback, every ounce of rejection, and turned it into something unstoppable. A version of yourself who doesn't just survive the fire but becomes it, who rises so high, so powerfully, that their name becomes nothing more than a distant echo in the story of your rise. Can you see it? Can you feel it? That's who you are meant to be. But here's the catch. This isn't going to happen by accident. It requires intention, discipline, and a willingness to face the discomfort of growth. Stoicism teaches us that it's not the events of our lives that define us, but how we interpret and respond to them. So what will your response be? Will you let their rejection shackle you, or will you use it as a stepping stone to something greater? Every time you feel that familiar pang of loss, every time their absence creeps into your mind, remind yourself of this: they didn't end your story. They merely ended their role in it. And that's okay, because now you're free to write the story you were always meant to tell, a story of resilience, strength, and untouchable growth. So what's the next step? It's time to act. Reflect on what you've learned, not about them, but about yourself. What do you want? What do you deserve? What are you capable of achieving now that nothing is holding you back? Write it down, make it real, and then take one small step today, just one, that moves you closer to that vision. Because every great fire starts with a single spark. Their rejection has lit that spark. Now, it's time to ignite the fire. Stay with me. The best is yet to come. 2. From pain to power. Let's pause for a moment. What do you feel when you think about the rejection you faced? Pain, anger, sadness. Those emotions are real, and you shouldn't suppress them. But here's the thing about pain: it's a teacher. And like every good teacher, it demands your attention. So ask yourself, what has this pain been trying to teach you? Rejection has a way of forcing us into clarity. It strips away the illusions, the false comforts, and the lies we've told ourselves about what we deserve. It shines a glaring light on the truth, even if that truth is uncomfortable. Maybe you've been giving too much of yourself to someone who never valued you. Maybe you've been chasing something that was never meant for you. Or maybe, just maybe, you've been afraid to claim the power that's always been yours. Take a moment to breathe that in. Let it settle. Because the truth is, pain isn't here to destroy you, it's here to shape you. Stoicism teaches us that adversity is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can't control the fact that they rejected you. What you can control is what you do with it. So what will you do? Here's an idea. Stop running from the pain. Instead, lean into it. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you of what you deserve and why you'll never settle for less again. Imagine this. Every tear, every sleepless night, every pang of doubt, what if all of it was fuel? What if you could take all that pain and turn it into the fire that powers your transformation? Because that's exactly what you're capable of. Think about it this way. Pain is energy, raw and unfiltered. And energy, by its very nature, demands motion. So when you're sitting there, feeling the weight of what happened, ask yourself, where will I direct this energy? Will I let it consume me, or will I use it to rise? You already know the answer. Deep down, you've known it all along. You've just been waiting for permission. Well, here it is, permission granted. It's time to stop focusing on them. They're not the story anymore. You are. They thought walking away would leave you broken, but they underestimated you, didn't they? They didn't see the fire inside you. They didn't realize that every ounce of pain they caused would only make you stronger. And now you're about to show them and the world exactly what you're made of. Picture yourself 6 months from now, a year from now. What do you see? Do you see someone still stuck in the same cycle of pain? Still looking back, still wondering what if? Or do you see someone who has risen above it? Someone who has taken every ounce of rejection and turned it into unstoppable power? The choice is yours. And the good news, you're already on the path to becoming that second version of yourself. The fact that you're here right now listening to this tells me that you're ready. But let's not just talk about it, let's act on it. Right here, right now, make a decision. Commit to turning this pain into power. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Take one step today, no matter how small, toward the life you deserve. Write it down, say it out loud, let the world know, I am not my pain, I am my power. When you start to take those steps, something incredible happens. The things that used to hurt you lose their grip. The people who used to control your emotions no longer have power over you. You realize that your worth was never tied to their opinion, that your value was never something they could define. You're free. This is your turning point. This is where the story changes. The fire has been lit, and it's not going out. Every time you feel that pain, remember, it's your fuel. Every time you think about their rejection, remind yourself, it was the spark you needed. And every time you doubt your ability to rise, look in the mirror and say, I've already survived the worst. What's left is nothing but opportunity. Before we go any further, let's take a moment to acknowledge this journey you're on. If this resonates with you, if you feel that fire starting to burn inside, I want you to do something for yourself right now. Hit the like button. It's your way of saying, I'm ready to turn my pain into power. And in the comments, drop number 1 to declare that this is the start of your transformation. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Together, we're going to keep building, keep rising, and keep proving that rejection isn't an end, it's a beginning. This is your moment. Take it. Let's keep going, because what comes next is going to push you even further. The fire is burning brighter now. Are you ready? Let's move. 3. Their goodbye was your green light. Imagine this, a racetrack. The engines are roaring, the air is thick with anticipation, and everyone is waiting for the light to change. Suddenly, the signal flashes green and everything surges forward in an unstoppable burst of motion. That's what their goodbye was for you. It wasn't a stop sign. It was the green light you didn't know you needed. When they left, you might have felt frozen, stuck in that moment, replaying every conversation and wondering if you could have done something different. It's human to feel that way. But the truth is, their decision to leave didn't stop your world, it freed it. Their absence didn't lock the door to your happiness, it unlocked the gates to possibilities you hadn't yet imagined. It's funny, isn't it? The very thing you thought would break you is the thing that has set you in motion. But how often do we miss that? How often do we see someone walking away and think, this is the end, instead of realizing it's the beginning? Stoicism reminds us to look beyond the immediate pain and see the opportunity hidden within. So let me ask you, what if their goodbye wasn't a loss, but a release? What if it wasn't rejection, but redirection? You've spent enough time looking back, enough time longing, hoping and wishing for what was. But life doesn't move backward, does it? It only moves forward. And if you're standing still, staring at a closed door, how will you ever notice the one that's opening right in front of you? Their goodbye was your chance to step into something new, something bigger and brighter than you ever could have imagined while you were holding on to them. Think about it. What were you giving up to hold on to someone who didn't value you? How many dreams did you put on pause? How many times did you shrink yourself to fit into their world? Their departure didn't shrink your life, it expanded it. It gave you space to grow into the person you were always meant to be. It's time to stop looking at their absence as a void and start seeing it as a blank canvas. What will you create now that you're free? What kind of life will you build when you're no longer pouring all your energy into someone who didn't appreciate it? This is your moment to take the wheel, to take control, and to drive toward the future you deserve. And let's not forget this. While you're moving forward, they're stuck in the same patterns, the same habits, the same mindset that made them leave in the first place. They thought their absence would break you, but here you are, accelerating past them, building a life they'll one day look back on and wish they could have been part of. That's not revenge, it's growth. It's the natural consequence of letting go and choosing to rise. But let me ask you this, where are you driving? Are you chasing validation, hoping they'll see your success and regret their choice? Or are you chasing something deeper, your own joy, your own purpose, your own fulfillment? Stoicism teaches us that external validation is fleeting, but inner growth is lasting. The only person you need to impress is the one staring back at you in the mirror. So what do they see? Someone who's stuck in the past or someone who's blazing forward with unstoppable momentum? You don't need their approval. You don't need their recognition. Their goodbye was proof enough that they didn't see your worth. But that doesn't mean you're not worthy. It means you were tied to someone who couldn't rise to meet you. And now you're free to find the people, the opportunities, and the life that align with the incredible person you're becoming. There's a certain power in realizing you're no longer waiting. You're not waiting for them to notice you. You're not waiting for an apology that will never come. You're not waiting for closure, because you've already given it to yourself. Every time you take a step forward, every time you make a choice to build the life you want, you're closing the chapter they walked out of. And trust me, that's a story they'll never forget. Let's talk about fear for a moment. Theirs, not yours. They won't admit it, but deep down they're afraid. Not of losing you, that's already happened. They're afraid of what you'll become without them. They're afraid of the day they look up and see you soaring, untouchable, unbothered, and out of reach. That fear, it's their burden to carry, not yours. Your job is to keep moving forward, not out of spite, but out of a deep, unwavering commitment to yourself. Picture this, you 6 months from now, thriving in ways you never thought possible. You're waking up every day feeling lighter, stronger, and more alive than ever. You've stopped checking on them, stopped wondering if they've noticed your growth, because frankly, it doesn't matter. Your life is full, so full that their absence feels like a distant memory, a footnote in the story of your rise. Their goodbye wasn't an ending. It was your beginning. And now you're moving so fast, so far ahead that by the time they look up, you'll be a blur on the horizon, impossible to reach. Keep going. This is your green light, your permission to live unapologetically and without limits. The road ahead is wide open. Take it. 4. Building an empire from the ruins. When they walked away, they probably thought they left you in ruins. They imagined you sitting in the wreckage of what used to be, broken and defeated. Maybe, for a moment, you believed it too. But let me ask you, what if those ruins weren't a sign of failure, but the foundation for something far greater? What if every shattered piece was just waiting for you to pick it up and rebuild, not the life you had before, but the one you've always deserved? It's easy to see brokenness as the end. It's what we've been taught, isn't it? That if something falls apart, it's over. But here's the truth. What breaks you also makes you. Stoicism teaches us to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as opportunities. When life gives you chaos, it's not there to destroy you, it's there to test you, to push you to create something stronger. So ask yourself, what will you build from this? And think about the pieces they left behind. The memories, the lessons, the scars. Every single one of them holds value, but only if you decide to use them. Every time they doubted you, every time they dismissed you, they were handing you bricks you can now use to build an empire. They thought they were burying you, but all they did was plant the seeds of your growth. And now, it's time to rise. Picture it. The life you've always wanted, standing tall like a castle on a hill. A life full of purpose, passion, and fulfillment. A life where you're in control, where your happiness isn't tied to anyone else's approval. That life isn't a dream. It's waiting for you to create it. But it starts with a decision. To stop mourning what was lost and start building what will be. You might be thinking, how do I even start? Start with one brick at a time. Focus on what you can control. Your habits, your mindset, your goals. Every small step you take is a piece of your empire. Wake up earlier. Set bigger goals. Invest in your health. Learn something new. These might seem like small things, but together, they're the foundation of a life so remarkable that their absence will feel irrelevant. And here's the thing they'll notice. Maybe not right away, but eventually they'll see what you've built. They'll hear your name in conversations they're not a part of. They'll see your face in places they can't reach. And when they do, they'll realize something they never saw before. That the very person they underestimated was the one who could thrive without them. But let me ask you, are you building this empire for them or for you? If you're doing it to prove them wrong, you'll never truly feel free. But if you're doing it for yourself, to honor your potential, your dreams, and your value, then every brick you lay will feel like freedom. This isn't about revenge. It's about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs their validation, because your life speaks for itself. So what will your empire look like? Will it be built on self-love, discipline, and resilience? Will it be a reflection of everything you've overcome and everything you're capable of achieving? Or will you let the ruins sit there, untouched, a monument to what could have been? You already know the answer. Deep down, you've always known. You just needed permission to believe it was possible. Well, here it is, permission granted. You are capable of so much more than you've been led to believe. And the proof is in every moment you've survived, every time you've gotten back up, every day you've kept going even when it felt impossible. That's your power. That's the foundation of your empire. And now it's time to build. If this resonates with you, if you can feel that fire starting to burn, I want you to do something for yourself right now. Hit the like button. It's your way of saying, I'm ready to build my empire. And in the comments, drop number 1 to declare that this is your time to rise. And don't stop there. Subscribe to this channel because this is just the beginning. Together, we're going to keep building, keep growing, and keep proving that the life you've always wanted is within your reach. Your empire is waiting. Let's get to work. 5. Unforgettable and unstoppable. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You thriving in ways you once thought impossible. Your name is being spoken in rooms you never expected. Your success echoing in spaces where your absence was once taken for granted. This isn't fantasy, it's the reality waiting for you to claim it. But let me ask you, are you ready to become unforgettable? Are you prepared to be unstoppable? There's something deeply liberating about realizing you no longer need their approval. They thought leaving you would dim your light, but all it did was make you shine brighter. Every step you've taken since their rejection has been a step toward reclaiming your power, your worth, and your identity. And now, you're becoming someone they can't ignore, even if they try. Let's not sugarcoat this. They thought you were replaceable, didn't they? They believed they could walk away and find someone else who could give them what you did. But here's the truth. You are not replaceable. Your value isn't something that can be replicated or duplicated. You brought something unique to their life, something they may not have appreciated, but that doesn't make it any less real. And one day they'll realize it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually they'll feel the absence of what they took for granted. But let's not focus on them. Their regrets, their realizations, their missed opportunities, those are theirs to carry, not yours. Your focus is on the life you're building, a life so rich, so full, so undeniably yours that it speaks louder than any words ever could. A life that doesn't just survive their absence but thrives because of it. Think about this. What does it mean to be unforgettable? It's not about being loud or drawing attention for the sake of it. It's about leaving a mark so deep, so genuine, that your presence is felt even in your absence. It's about living a life so authentic and so aligned with your true self that it becomes impossible for anyone to dismiss you. That's what you're building right now, whether you realize it or not. Every choice you make, every step you take toward your goals is another brick in the foundation of a life that will leave an impact. When you invest in yourself, when you choose to rise above the pain, when you decide to keep going even when it's hard, you're becoming someone they can't forget. Not because you're trying to prove anything to them, but because you're proving it to yourself. But let me ask you this. Who are you doing this for? If your answer is still them, then you're missing the point. Becoming unforgettable isn't about making them regret their choices. It's about becoming someone you can be proud of. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing someone who didn't give up, who didn't let rejection define them, who chose to rise anyway. There's a saying in Stoicism: What stands in the way becomes the way. Their rejection may have felt like an obstacle, but it's actually the path to your transformation. It's the thing that forced you to dig deeper, to find strength you didn't know you had, to become more than you ever thought possible. And now, you're unstoppable. Unstoppable doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt or fear. What it does mean is that those challenges won't break you. They'll shape you, refine you, and propel you forward. Being unstoppable isn't about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Picture your future, not the one you imagined with them, but the one you're building now. It's bigger, isn't it? Brighter. Full of possibilities you never would have seen if they hadn't walked away. Their rejection was never about your worth. It was about their limitations. And now, those limitations no longer apply to you. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're not just moving on, you're soaring. And the best part, you're doing it for you. Not to prove a point, not to make them notice, but because you deserve it. You always have. They didn't see it, but that's not your problem. Your focus isn't on who they thought you were. It's on who you're becoming. One day they might look back and realize what they lost. They might hear your name in conversations they can't be part of, see your face in places they'll never belong. But by then it won't matter, because you'll be so far ahead, so deeply rooted in the life you've created, that their opinion will feel like a distant memory. Unforgettable and unstoppable, that's who you are now. And the best part, you've only just begun. Keep going, keep rising. The world hasn't seen anything yet. 6. Rewriting the story. They thought they closed the book on you. They walked away believing they'd written the final chapter in your story. But here's the truth they'll never be able to ignore. They didn't end your story, they gave you the pen. And now you're rewriting it. Every moment since their rejection has been a new page, a fresh beginning, and the start of a narrative they never saw coming. Let's be honest. For a while, it probably felt like they held the pen, didn't it? You might have let their opinions, their actions, and their absence dictate how you saw yourself. It's natural. Rejection can feel like someone else is in control of your life, like they've stripped you of your agency. But let me ask you this: who does your story belong to? Them or you? The answer is obvious, but sometimes we need to remind ourselves of it. Your story was never theirs to write. And the moment they walked away, they gave you the freedom to craft a narrative that reflects your true strength, your resilience, and your unstoppable potential. They might have been a chapter, a loud one, maybe even a painful one, but they were never the whole book. You are. You are. Now think about this for a moment. What do you want your story to say? Is it a tale of someone who was broken by rejection? Or is it the story of someone who turned rejection into redirection? Someone who used every setback as a stepping stone, every scar as a badge of honor, and every failure as a lesson. That's the story you're writing now, one page at a time. Stoicism reminds us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. So how are you responding? Are you letting their departure define you, or are you defining yourself in their absence? Every choice you make, every step you take toward growth, is another line in the narrative of your rise. Let's look at it this way. They thought they were writing you out of their world. They imagined you would fade into the background, become just another forgotten chapter in their story. But instead, you've become the plot twist they never expected. The moment they thought would break you is the very moment that set you free. And now your story is one they'll never escape. Imagine them years from now, hearing your name in a room they can't enter, seeing your success in places they'll never belong, realizing that while they thought they were closing your book, all they did was inspire the sequel they'll never be part of. That's not revenge, that's evolution. That's growth. That's you becoming the protagonist of a story so powerful, it leaves everyone in awe. But here's the thing, this isn't about them. It's not about making them regret their choices or miss what they lost. It's about you. It's about stepping into the life you were meant to live, a life that isn't defined by their rejection, but by your ability to rise above it. This is your story now, and you get to decide how it unfolds. So, let me ask you, what will the next chapter look like? Will it be filled with self-doubt and hesitation, or will it be a testament to your resilience and strength? Will it be a story of survival or one of triumph? The choice is yours, and you've already proven that you have the power to make it. Take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. You're not the same person you were when they left. You've grown, you've evolved, and you've started to rewrite your story in ways they never anticipated. That's worth celebrating. That's worth shouting about. And if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to turn the page and keep writing, I want you to do something right now. Hit the like button. It's your way of saying this is my story, and I'm owning it. And in the comments, drop number 1 to let the world know that this is just the beginning of your next chapter. Subscribe to this channel, because together we're going to keep building, keep rising, and keep rewriting the stories we were always meant to tell. Your story isn't over. In fact, it's only just begun. Let's keep going. Let's keep writing. The world is waiting to see what comes next. And trust me, it's going to be unforgettable. 7. Becoming irreplaceable. They thought you were replaceable. They walked away as if you were just another person, another fleeting moment in their life, someone they could forget with ease. But they underestimated you. They didn't see the depth of what you brought to their life, the uniqueness of your presence, the kind of value that doesn't just disappear. And now they'll learn that some people aren't replaceable, not because you're trying to prove it, but because it's simply the truth. Let's think about it. Why do people walk away thinking they can find better? It's often not because you lacked anything, but because they lacked the ability to appreciate what they had. They couldn't recognize the depth, the effort, the love, and the energy you gave. That says nothing about your worth and everything about their inability to value it. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. You can't control their choices, but you can control how you show up for yourself. Ask yourself this: what makes you irreplaceable? Is it your ability to love deeply? Your resilience in the face of adversity? Your unwavering commitment to being better, growing stronger, and standing taller? Those qualities don't disappear just because someone failed to see them. If anything, their absence gives you the space to amplify those traits, to grow into an even greater version of yourself. Let's be clear, this isn't about seeking validation from others. It's not about waiting for them to come crawling back or hoping they'll realize what they lost. Becoming irreplaceable is about stepping into your own power, about recognizing that your value doesn't depend on their acknowledgement. It's about building a life so full, so vibrant, and so undeniably yours that even the thought of replacing you feels impossible. Picture this. While they're searching for someone to fill the void, you're thriving. You're investing in yourself, growing and living a life that reflects your true potential. They'll try to move on, to find someone new, but they'll soon discover something that no one else can replicate: your authenticity, your presence, the way you made them feel, even when they didn't deserve it. But here's the thing, their realization doesn't matter. What matters is that you're no longer defined by their departure. You're no longer waiting for them to see your worth because you see it clearly now. And with that clarity comes freedom, the freedom to live without limits, to love yourself without conditions, and to rise without hesitation. Think about the standard you're setting now. Every habit you build, every goal you chase, every victory you achieve becomes a testament to your irreplaceability. You're not doing this to prove anything to them, you're doing it to honor yourself. And as you continue to grow, to shine, to rise, the distance between you and the person they walked away from becomes immeasurable. They'll notice eventually. They always do. They'll hear your name, see your success, and wonder if they made a mistake. But by then, it won't matter. You'll be so far ahead, so deeply rooted in the life you've built, that their opinion will feel like a distant echo. You'll realize that the only validation you ever needed was your own. Becoming irreplaceable isn't about being unforgettable to them. It's about being unforgettable to yourself. It's about living in a way that reflects your values, your passions, and your dreams. It's about creating a life so rich, so full, and so unapologetically yours that it becomes a masterpiece, a life no one else could ever duplicate. Ask yourself, what does that life look like? What steps are you taking today to build it? Because every choice you make, every action you take brings you closer to that vision. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about becoming someone who doesn't just survive rejection but thrives because of it. They thought you were replaceable, but they were wrong. You were never just anyone. You were always extraordinary, and now you're stepping into that truth fully and completely. You're not just living, you're leading. You're not just existing, you're excelling. And as you continue to rise, the world will see what they couldn't, that you're one of a kind. This is your moment. Keep moving forward. Keep building. Keep becoming. Because the truth is, there's no replacing someone like you. Not now, not ever. And the life you're creating will be the ultimate proof of that. 8. Pain is a forge. Pain. It's the one thing we all want to avoid, isn't it? We run from it, numb it, bury it, or pretend it doesn't exist. But here's the paradox. Pain, as unbearable as it feels in the moment, is the very thing that can transform us. It's not your enemy. It's your forge. The fire that shapes you into something stronger, sharper, and more unbreakable than you ever thought possible. I think about the pain you've felt since their rejection. The nights you've spent replaying conversations in your head, the ache of their absence, the sting of realizing they didn't choose you. It's overwhelming, isn't it? But here's the truth. That pain doesn't have to be a weight that drags you down. It can be the spark that sets you free. Stoicism teaches us that we don't grow in spite of adversity, we grow because of it. Pain is a teacher, and while its lessons are harsh, they are also invaluable. So let me ask you, what has your pain taught you? Has it shown you the parts of yourself that need healing? Has it revealed the strength you didn't know you had? Has it forced you to confront the uncomfortable truths you've been avoiding? If so, then it's already serving its purpose. Picture a piece of metal being hammered into shape. Every strike seems brutal, but it's necessary. Each blow strengthens the metal, shaping it into something more refined and more resilient. That's what your pain is doing to you. Every tear, every pang of heartache, every moment of self-doubt, it's forging you into a version of yourself that is unshakable. But here's the key. Pain isn't enough on its own. You have to decide what you'll do with it. Will you let it break you, or will you let it build you? Will you stay stuck in the hurt, or will you use it as fuel to rise? The choice is yours, and it's a choice you make every single day. What does it look like to turn pain into power? It starts with acceptance. Accept what has happened. Accept that their rejection hurt. Accept that it left a mark. But don't stop there. Take that pain and channel it into something constructive. Start with small, deliberate actions. Exercise to release the tension. Journal to process your thoughts. Set a new goal and take the first step toward it. Every time you choose action over despair, you're turning pain into power. And let's not forget this. While you're doing the work, they're not. They thought their rejection would paralyze you, but instead, it's propelling you forward. They thought their absence would leave you broken, but all it's doing is making you stronger. While they're standing still, you're rising. While they're stuck in the same patterns, you're evolving. That's the power of embracing pain. It moves you when nothing else will. Imagine the person you're becoming because of this. A person who doesn't just survive hardship but thrives because of it. A person who doesn't fear pain but sees it as a stepping stone to greatness. A person who has been forged in the fire of adversity and come out stronger on the other side. That's you. Right here, right now, you're becoming that person. One day you'll look back on this pain and realize it was the catalyst for everything that came after. You'll see how it pushed you to grow, to heal, to rise. You'll recognize that it wasn't your enemy, it was your greatest ally. And when that day comes, you'll understand that the life you've built, the strength you've cultivated, and the success you've achieved wouldn't have been possible without it. But let's bring it back to this moment. What will you do today to turn your pain into power? What action can you take, no matter how small, to move forward? Remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Every step you take is a step away from the hurt and toward the life you deserve. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to embrace the fire and let it forge you into something unstoppable, let's make a commitment right here, right now. Hit the like button. It's your way of saying, I'm ready to turn pain into power. And in the comments, drop number 1 to declare that this is the moment you stop running from pain and start using it. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Together we'll keep growing, keep rising, and keep proving that pain isn't the end. It's the start of something extraordinary. This is your forge. Let it shape you into the person you were always meant to be. Let's move forward. Let's rise. Let's take the next step together. Take a moment and think about everything we've explored. The rejection, the pain, the struggle, it all felt overwhelming at first, didn't it? But now look at how far you've come. You've started to see the truth. The rejection wasn't the end of your story. It was the spark that lit a fire, the beginning of your transformation, and the foundation for the extraordinary life you're building. What they thought would break you has only made you stronger. Every setback has become a step forward, every scar a badge of resilience. You've turned pain into power, doubt into determination, and rejection into fuel for your rise. You're not the same person you were when they walked away. You've grown, you've evolved, and now you're unstoppable. But this isn't where the journey ends, it's where it truly begins. From this moment forward, you have the power to shape your story, to build an empire out of the ruins, to become irreplaceable, to rise so high that their absence becomes irrelevant. You are not defined by their rejection. You are defined by how you've chosen to respond, by the strength you've discovered within yourself, and by the life you're creating with every step you take. Let me ask you, what's next? What are you going to do with the fire inside you? Will you let it burn quietly, or will you let it light up the world? The choice is yours, and I know you'll choose to rise. If this video has resonated with you, if you feel that spark growing stronger, let it be a reminder that this is your time. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're not just moving on, you're soaring. And the best part, this is only the beginning. Before you go, take a moment to declare your commitment to yourself. Hit the like button if you're ready to keep rising, and drop number 1 in the comments to let the world know that your fire can't be controlled. Don't forget to subscribe, because we're not stopping here. Together, we're going to keep growing, keep building, and keep proving that rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning of something extraordinary. Thank you for being here, for sharing this journey, and for stepping into your power. Remember, you are the fire they can't control, the story they'll never forget, and the light they can't ignore. Keep rising, keep thriving, and always remember you're unstoppable. See you in the next video.